to Transcendental Transformation, the place where spirituality and transformation unite. Host Miss Raina imparts truth so that you can break through your limiting beliefs and evolve into a deeper consciousness. As you go about your day, remember, before every breakthrough, there is a breakdown. And now, let's start the show.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's episode of Transcendental Transformation. I'm your host, Miss Raina, and today is Tuesday, August 30th, 2022. As always, we're coming live from the Sirius Star System studios right here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I hope all is well. So if you haven't noticed, we look a little different. We got a nice new little backdrop. We changed the lighting a little bit. We're going to see how this goes. Normally, we have bright lights all over the place, and you can see everything that goes on in my house or the studio at the time, and you know, a lot of people like that, but we figured, hey, we change it up a little bit. I really like this backdrop, so tell me what you guys think. You know, we're always looking to change things up, and your opinion certainly does matter. So as before we even begin the show, I want to wish Leanne a very, very, very happy 38th birthday this week, or this Thursday, I believe, September 1st. You know, it's funny that 13 years ago we met in 2009, and we met playing softball, and I never knew that when she came into my life that, you know, again 13 years later we'd be from friend to family. So Leanne, happy 38th birthday. I wish you all the love and peace in your life, and it's been my honor to know you so far, and I hope I get many more years of our friendship together. So all right, everybody, it is Labor Day weekend coming up. I didn't even realize it was Labor Day weekend. It was one of those things that I popped on the calendar and boop, there it is. And yeah, you know, the year has gone by so fast. I can't believe it's September coming up already. Pretty soon it's going to be all time for pumpkin spice, and then Turkey Day, and then Yule, and then New Year's is going to be, and then, you know, we don't want to tell the next holiday after that, but yeah, what do you guys got planned? It's, you know, I don't think I'm going to do anything. I mean, obviously there's not much I can do still. It's kind of boring. It was like all week long I've been trying to think of things to, you know how I usually do an introduction, try to think of things that, you know, go on that are happening and stuff, and since I really don't do much, I was struggling this weekend, and then when I saw it was Labor Day, I was like, well, let's just talk about Labor Day. So yeah, if you guys are going out partying or anything, please be safe. No, don't drink and drive. Don't go on your boat and drink. I know how easy it is just to say, hey, I'm going to have one or two beers or, you know, a couple shots and just go out. But really, it's not worth your safety or harming somebody else. So please be smart this Labor Day weekend, and please party responsibly. As always, guys, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and DLive, and the replay on all the social medias like iHeart and Pandora and Spotify and everything. They're all, you can find all the links in our Facebook Transcendental Transformation page. So we have a lot of information to go over today, and you know, this is something that I touched on, a topic I touched on long time ago. I think the show is titled, "What in the World is Good Nutrition?" Well, today we're going to go and we're going to talk about, you know, having true wealth is having good health, and the reason why is because, you know, we were shifting for a while. There was a really big shift for a little while in at least our society. I can't speak for anyone else, but where people were going green and people were eating healthier, and they were walking away from things like fast food like McDonald's and Burger King and everything. And of course there's nothing wrong with that once in a while, but you know, there was a point where like places were really struggling for money, like McDonald's and everything, and they were even introducing salads and healthier things, and then all of a sudden something switched where people went back to their old habits and just kind of were having this, you know, and just up, you know, hey, you know, I tried the healthy thing for a while, but it is so important for us, you know, and we hear this all the time. You know it, I know it, and the world knows how important it is for our body to be healthy and to supply our body with the proper nutrition and supplementation that it needs. If I didn't take care of myself as much as I did, I don't think I would have made it through this process that I've been dealing with the illness. And if I didn't have the education and the whereabouts to figure out what was going on in my body, I would definitely not be here. This is why it is so important for us. I look at my body as like a temple, and I know that sounds cliche, but I really do. I really look, even though this body is on loan and I've had millions of them, I look at this body as precious, because I look at life as precious, because I enjoy being here. I enjoy being this character I made up, Miss Raina, and I enjoy it, and I enjoy to be able to do things. Part of one of the things that have gotten me to the point of starting to get me a little, affect my mental aspect, is the fact that I can't go out doing stuff. And I was such an active person, and I always saw my family fall apart. I saw them be unhealthy. I watched them die of diabetes and cancer left and right. And I watched so many people around get, just be sick all the time. And I thought to myself, well, why does anybody want to live like this? Like, why? I don't want to live like that. Why? I mean, I get it. You're young, you like to party and stuff, but there's got to come a time and point in your life where you just, you don't feel good anymore. Your body doesn't handle the junk food and the late nights and the drinking and the partying like it used to. And you just wake up a little slower. And that's for a lot of people. I look at, I'd rather have quality of life versus quantity of life. I don't care if I live 100 years, 150 years, 80 years. I would rather have the time that I have be full of quality than to be, hey, I was young for a while, I was middle-aged, now all of a sudden by the time I'm 50, I'm 60, I'm on all these medications and I can't do anything. And I get it, because that's the situation I'm in now, but that's because of an illness that I didn't know I had. Now we're reversing it and taking proper action, and eventually one day I'll be back. But going through this really reminded me of things that I never wanted to be, and the reason why I took care of myself so much. And this is something that I think that it's important for all of us to understand, that we have to start treating ourselves, because there's some of it, it's no going back, people. Some of it, like once you start the chain of events, sometimes there's nothing we can do, at least with our mindset that we have now and the technology that we have now, that can stop it. And hey, maybe that's where you're fated to be. Maybe that's what is meant to be, and there's nothing we're going to do to change your mind. This show isn't going to change your mind. But to the people that have free will and have free choice of the fact of trying to take care of ourselves, this is really important to understand. And we're going to go through a lot of supplements, a lot of chemicals, and a lot of things, and common things. I'm not going to get too crazy with a lot of different things, and this is probably going to be a two-part show. I don't know how much I'm going to be able to go through, but it's important for us to understand. And, we hear about things like vitamins and minerals and supplementations, and a lot of times we want to take the quick pill. We want to do all these things. And it's even like I deal with that with my family, even my mom. I love her to death, but she it's just, give me a pill. Can I take all my vegetables in one pill? and I'm like, no, Mom, it doesn't work like that. You got to eat healthy and then take those pills as supplementation to everything. So there's going to be many things we're going to go over. We're going to talk about so much nutrition. We're going to talk about different products. We're going to talk about different vitamin supplementation label things, that chemicals that are in our food that you're going to be like, what? Like, why is this in our food? And there are a lot of things that are in our food. When I first got into health, I kind of like panicked. I was like, oh my God, the whole world is toxic. Now everyone thinks I'm just this crazy alternative, person that's got wacko and the thing. But it's because I'm educated. It's because I have 4 medical degrees hanging on my wall. And I've been studying this stuff since the 90s. And when you wake up to it and you realize how toxic the things we do and the things we are around constantly, you realize why we're number one in cancer and heart disease and sickness. America's number one in it, and that's not a lie. You can go look it up. I'm sure American websites will alter it and say we're like 17th or whatever, but in reality, if you actually look at the statistics from non-biased places, yeah, we're number one in illness, and it's sad that we've gotten this way. One of the things that I want to get a little sciencey here, because I'm a nerd. I like that, and it's probably one of my favorite. It's got to be my favorite element, because without it, I would not be here. And I talked about this a little bit in the last show, and I thought it would be good to kind of review this because it's important for us to understand. And one of the elements that is essential to life that we have to have, that's in everything that's organic, carbon-based life form, is carbon, and it is the most essential element to life, because without it, you and I don't exist. Animals don't exist. Plants don't exist. Anything that is living does not exist, and it is so important. We consume carbon. We don't even realize how much of carbon is in us and around us. And this is something that I know a lot of people are probably like, well, but we underestimate these things because we don't realize that we need carbon. We have to replenish carbon. Carbon is something that in order for our bodies to sustain health, we need it. And if we don't have it, if we're not getting enough carbon and stuff, then our bodies don't function. Just like it's just like anything. If we don't have the essential proper nutrients and supplementations to our body, our cells don't function properly, and what ends up happening is we become ill. Illness is a sign that we don't take care of our bodies. Sometimes it is, like in my case, it is a sign of, hey, we caught something, we weren't aware of it, and it ravaged our body. Sometimes that happens, but 99% of diseases and sicknesses out there are due to us not taking properly care of ourselves. I know for a fact if I didn't take care of myself for so long, and I didn't exercise and eat healthy, and I didn't go that crazy route, I would not have survived the EVV, because I was in stage 4, and now I think I'm in stage 3. I'm reversing it, but that got me to the point where I couldn't even walk to the bathroom without feeling like I was going to have a heart attack and die. And there was a few days where I didn't think I was going to make it, because that's what it does. It moves in so much. And so you have to remember that what you do now affects how you respond to things when you're older. So if you party like crazy and you just don't take care of yourself and say, oh, well, now I'm 40, I'm 50, now I got to start taking care of myself. Well, your body's not going to respond the way it needs to, because of all the abuse that we've took. And hey, we're all guilty of it at some point in our life. But I was fortunate enough to always be active and an athlete and be in sports and want this knowledge. And this is something that we have to do. So in carbon, there are 3 basic macromolecules, okay? And everyone knows what these are. These are carbohydrates, these are fats, and these are proteins. And carbohydrates, we know, are in their 2 simplest forms. They're simple carbohydrates and complex carbohydrates. The simples are basically like your sucrose, which is the most known. This is your table sugar. This is terrible for you. This is horrible for you. Your table sugar and all these processed sugars are a lot of times that go into candies and pops and everything, and this is horrible for you. Your glucose is your primary, which is another simple sugar carbohydrate, is your primary energy source, and that goes on a cellular level. That is something that a lot of bodies need, and eventually you'll understand that all carbohydrates break down into glucose, because again, that's where it is. And then there's fructose. Fructose is naturally found in fruit, like honey, palm sugar, maple syrup, things like that. But even fructose is being synthesized now and being processed and put in products that are high amounts, and are now turning where we're saying, oh, it's fructose, and people are putting natural on it. And we're going to get into natural versus organic, because the world makes you crazy about all the things. I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of companies are in it obviously for the money, and they want to make money, and they will find ways around the laws to process things and call it natural and put it on there. And you think, oh, hey, it says organic, or it says all natural. Hey, this is good for me. But it is important to understand what it is you're taking. It is important to understand what they're putting into it and how they're manipulating the wording on there, because you may be thinking you're getting health, and you may be totally destroying, going the opposite way, especially if you're diabetic or have cancer before, or have some type of celiac disease or intolerances to food or whatever it is. There's a lot of times where, even me, now that I have food allergies, there's times where I've eaten something that I've said it was clear, and all of a sudden I have a reaction to something, and I'm like, oh, and then you write the company, oh, no, it has it in there. We just never put it on the label. and you kind of go nuts with it. But our simple sugars are the easiest form. These digest so quickly, and this is the reason why a lot of energy drinks and things like that have your simple sugars in it, your simple carbohydrates, because that's the quickest form. Those give you the quickest, fastest burn. They'll give you a temporary spike in blood sugar, and then it'll come down. Your complex carbohydrates, this is your grains like your wheat, your rye, your barleys, etc., and your starchy vegetables like your potatoes. A lot of people have a bad rap on potatoes and starches, and this is something that the body needs. I'm just going to use potatoes as one of it. Potatoes are very helpful for the neurological function, especially your spinal column and the cerebral fluid and everything like that. When we stay away from these things, because we hear, oh my God, carbs are bad for you. Don't eat carbs because they're going to make you gain weight. What we're really doing is we're starving our body because we're so used to eating processed junk that we think that all carbohydrates are bad for us. And then what happens is we go on these high-fat diets, which are terrible fats, eat tons of bacon, and we injure our body because our body's like, what's going on? Yes, we temporarily starve ourselves from all the sugars, so it appears that we're losing weight, but we're hurting ourselves in another way. So educate yourself on the good carbohydrates versus the bad carbohydrates. And I know I'm using good and bad, but in this case, yes, they're actually, we will use that term. Because there are carbohydrates that, you get processed, those you don't want. There are good carbohydrates like potatoes and different things like that, yes, you actually want in your body because you can burn those. Those go slower, they give you longer energy. And that's what's nice about complex carbohydrates, is complex carbohydrates digest slowly. So it's a steady form of energy. So if I'm eating potatoes or anything like that, not only is it helping my neurological function and helping it go strong and remain there, but it's also giving me slow energy throughout the day. So it's not like these bursts. A lot of us, because we don't eat healthy, we have to have energy drinks and supplementation. And so what does it do? It gives us a load of sugar, a load of amino acids, and it spikes us really quick, and we get all these energy. And then all of a sudden we come crashing down, right? Because we have all this sugar, and then all of a sudden we have that sugar crash. And a lot of these energy drinks, let me tell you really quick, even though they say amino acids and stuff, they're really cancerous. They really are. I don't know if I don't remember if what we have in here. I don't think we touched on energy drinks, but go research it. There's a lot of people who were athletic and bodybuilders that drank energy drinks like crazy, and they ended up with cancer and passed away, or they ended up with some type of cancerous disease, and they're no longer an athlete because their body can't. They are very, very toxic for you. So even if they say, oh, all natural, all amino acids, it's garbage. Do not do that. You can get more out of beets. You can get more out of bananas and apples, more energy, sustainable energy for a couple hours than you will out of those energy drinks. Sure, they'll pump you up within 20 minutes, but I'd rather much have that type of energy from honey or like I said, beets or carrots or apples or bananas, anything that'll sustain me and give me a natural type of energy. So as I said, all carbohydrates break down into glucose. Glucose is made of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. You need those essential things because, hey, hydrogen's all around us. That's part of our water. Oxygen is part of our water. We breathe partly oxygen. Carbon is another thing that these three elements, we will not sustain our health or living if we did not have them. So this is something that's very important. You know what? I want to go into fats, but I see we're almost time for a break. So we'll be right back after these messages from I Am Evolution.
The human experience is changing, and consciousness is evolving into something higher than any of us could ever imagine. As we transform into more sentient beings, a new world of connected consciousness is taking place. Welcome to I Am Evolution, the movement in human development that transforms the human experience into a deeper consciousness through perspective and duality. Are you ready to be a part of the next stage in human evolution? Call I Am Evolution today to schedule your appointment at 561-318-0006. That's 561-318-0006. Or email us at iamevolution@protonmail.com.
All right, everybody, we are back. And so, if you're just joining us, we are talking all about the macromolecules and carbon and kind of like going over the carbohydrates. And now we're going to talk a little bit about fats. There are many types of fats, and fats, again, get a bad rap. The health industry, the FDA, does not want you to know about health. That's why they tell you there is one thing healthy for you, and then no, it's not. And anytime people start realizing that there's health, you're going to see 1,000 articles and commercials saying, no, it's not healthy for you, because they don't want you healthy. And this is why it is so important for you to educate yourself. They tell you that fat is bad. Stay away from fat. Yes, trans fat is. Some saturated fats are, yes. But even some saturated fats are healthy for you. We always hear about the healthy fats, which are unsaturated fats, like monounsaturated fats and polyunsaturated fats. These are fats that are there. These are like your avocado and your olive oil, your ghee butter, things like that. Things that are your fishes, your omega-3s, and we're going to get into those in a little bit. But your heart and your brain and your cells, they need fat. People sit there like taking spoonfuls of olive oil, taking spoonfuls of coconut oil. I make sure that I incorporate it, and we even see that in countries like Greece and Italy that have high intakes of olive oil, they actually have healthier hearts than us. They have less heart disease. They have less illnesses than us because we need the fats. America is one of the sickest countries, or it is the sickest country in the world right now, because we McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, and I like that stuff once in a while, but those things are at every corner. Where can you get health food? Well, you can't, except for some place like Whole Foods or Sprouts or something, and then they charge you an insane amount because it's organic or it's healthy. So I get the fact that we're in that bind of but I'd rather pay more now and understand that what I'm intaking is healthier, saving me, than pay hundreds of thousands to treat cancer and have pills the rest of my life and be on oxygen. So we have to understand that carbohydrates are healthy for us because they have carbon in them. Fats are healthy for us because they have carbon in them. Remember, the plants get this carbon and everything through photosynthesis and everything. We eat the plants. The animals eat the plants. They get carbon in them from that way, and we need this carbon. So stopping ourselves from getting carbohydrates, stopping ourselves from eating fats, hurt us in so many levels, but fats are essential for our health. I noticed that even a difference between people who don't have a high fat intake, a healthy fat intake, than people that don't, because their brain activity, they're slower speaking, they don't get things as much, their concentration is off because it affects you in so many different ways. There are so many things, and I'm going to not go into fats because there's so many things I could go into, but this is something that we must understand. The last macromolecule for carbon is proteins. And we hear protein all the time, especially if you're an athlete, especially if you're into athletics and different things like that. We need proteins. When we start to get older, our skin starts to lose elasticity. Why? Because we're losing protein. We don't take enough protein in, so our skin gets wrinkly, and we can tell if we're hydrated enough and protein enough, because see how my skin snaps right back? That means I'm hydrated enough. I have a lot of protein. The older we get, and if we're not eating healthy, I know people in their 20s that I can bend their skin and their skin stays like that because, one, they don't have enough water in them, and they don't have enough protein in them. So yes, proteins are made from amino acids. There are 20. There are 12 types that our body synthesizes, and there are 8 that are essential that our diets must need. And we have to get these things. There are fat solubles. That's vitamins. There are the types that we have to have. So there are types that our body naturally produces, and there's types that we must ingest. This is why it is so important for us to have, even if you want to be look, I'm not going to fight over people if you want to be a carnivore or not. If that's your choice, if you want to eat meat and you like it, but at least incorporate vegetables with it, because we're seeing, even with the blood types, trust me, I've tried every type of diet out there just to kind of see. I've even tried the O blood type and all that, the blood type diets, because I'm O positive. Yes, my body does respond a little bit to meat, but also it also kind of hurts it. If I have too much of it, it starts to affect. I'm not a person that actually really likes meat. I've been eating it more because of my restrictions of diet and trying to figure out what I can and can't eat, and I know that's safe for me right now, but I notice a difference. But plants have more proteins in them and digestible proteins than meat does. So if you take a can of beans and you take meat, you would have to eat a lot more meat to equal what's in the can of beans, because that is digestible protein. And this is something that we must understand. So these are the three basic structures of life. These are the three, these macromolecules are essential to our health. And once we start understanding that this is a form of carbon intake, that we need carbon because we are carbon-based life forms, then we have to understand that what we're putting into our body. That's why even if you're going to eat meat, go out to the store, buy grass-fed, because why? They're eating the grass. At least if they're eating the natural, they're getting in some of the chlorophyll, they're getting in some of the macronutrient, they're getting some of the carbon in them, and this will be a little bit healthier for you than if you're getting the grade D meat that's in chop shop type of meat. So the next thing I want to go over is, I want to say this really before we go into this, is there is no miracle cure out there. There's no miracle pill out there that's going to help you with anything. There are supplementations and vitamins to help you along with a healthy lifestyle. And again, remember, healthy lifestyle just doesn't mean eating and exercise. It means what we think about ourselves, how we treat about ourselves, what we choose to engage in as far as mental, emotional, our vibrational level. All of this is health. And so I've met a lot of people who look good, who eat healthy, but are toxic mentally and emotionally and vibrational level. And they get sick, and they can understand that. Well, I know I ate healthy my whole life. What is this? Because they're stressed out. They're angry all the time. So remember that this is a whole lifestyle that we have to intake. Stop listening to the TV shows, the news, and everything. Stop watching all these things that say, oh, this is bad for you. Go do your research. Yes, the government does control a lot of it. Scroll down. If you have to, get a VPN, go to other countries, see the news articles, see other things, because some countries don't restrict like the United States does. But with that being said, I always say that if there's a commercial out there for it, you probably shouldn't buy it or eat it. Okay, because a lot of junk usually has a commercial. You don't really see too many. I mean, now it's starting to become a little healthier where you do see it, but most foods and products that have commercials usually aren't healthy. So that's a rule. Do your research. Even the stuff that I'm telling you to do your research. Find out about it. I know people would rather be on their phone looking at stuff and going through Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, but go do your research. Start reading on this stuff. Start educating your stuff on, because the more you educate, you're going to find out how, even going to Whole Foods, I love Whole Foods, but even going to Whole Foods, there is a lot of things in there that aren't healthy anymore. And maybe, I don't know if that's because of Amazon took it over, but there are a lot of things in Whole Foods that aren't. So just be careful of what you're doing. And label reading is important for us. If you don't know what a label is, if you don't know how to read a label, then I suggest that you educate yourself and start looking up these things. There are many apps on our phones that actually will tell you what labels are and what the product is and kind of what each ingredient is. And this is something very important. One of the things that I stress on, and I always tell people, is the first thing you must do is when you read it, you think just because it says organic or natural means it's healthy for you, and this is a lie. It is not. Organic just means up to 75%. That means 25% of it, or 35%, or 20% of it, it's up to 75% is organic. So it could be 5% organic and the rest not, but hey, as long as part of it's organic, it can have that label organic. If it doesn't say 100% organic, which nothing in the world can be 100% organic, that's why you don't see that label, and that then that's the only way. But even if a farmer had the only way of, like, it's impossible, because you grow crops, and you even if you don't use pesticides and herbicides, well, what about the water? You're polluting it with chemicals through there, runoffs, fluoride, chlorine, heavy metals, things like that. Even if you use a filter, which would be insanely expensive amount for a farmer to use, you still can't stop things from falling from the sky, debris, things like that. So it's impossible for it to be organic. But the whole point is to get as close to organic and healthy as possible. That's why it is important to have a healthy liver. It's important to drink water. It's important to have healthy kidneys, etc., because all that stuff will help you detox the stuff that you're getting that you think that's healthy for you. On natural is a junk label. Don't ever think it's healthy just because it says naturally. Anything that comes from the earth can be natural. I could put cocaine, and I know I'm getting a little silly here, but I'm just proving a point. I could put cocaine or heroin into a product and call it natural, because guess what? Cocaine comes from a plant. Heroin, so it's the same thing. Just because it says natural, a lot of people fall from this. Like I said, cocaine is alcohol. All these different things are natural. They come from plants, right? Hops, that's a plant, so hey, it can't be bad for you. But we know thousands and millions of people that die and have died from alcohol toxicity due to a sclerosis of the liver and all sorts of things, right? So just because it's from a plant, just because it's natural, just because the label looks pretty and it has a picture of a farm on it, does not mean it's healthy. Be smart and choose wisely. When we buy organic, like fruits and vegetables, and this is something that's hard to I always look at color. I always look at things, because even when you buy organic, especially the first rule of thumb is, like, things like bananas and avocados and things that have less water-based things, don't spend your money on organic, because they have less pesticides because they're not water-based. Anything that is like watermelon, water-based, like watermelon, cucumbers, bell peppers, celery, anything like that's water-based, blueberries, strawberries, those you have to buy organic, because those are full of water. And if you don't, that can be 1, GMO, and 2, it could be full of pesticides and chemicals and herbicides, and you don't want that, okay? Because remember, your body's going to absorb those waters, and I can taste when something's not organic, because right away, as soon as I bit it, actually, Caleb brought me some fruit. He went out and got lunch the other day, and he brought me a thing of fruit. And the moment I bit into the orange, I spit it out and just spit out the juice, because I could literally taste the herbicides and the pesticides and the chemicals inside the orange. And it was so toxic, I just spit it right out. I said, "Oh my God, that's disgusting." So the more toxic we are with our health, the less we can smell and taste. So if you are spraying yourself with perfume, if you're constantly eating stuff and you can't taste something toxic, your body is toxic. And this is something that we have to understand when we're going into health, because I always tell people, like, who use perfume all the time, I use this as an example, or people who use laundry detergent and they buy the Downy and all that stuff and all these Downy the pods and everything that have all these fragrances. If you're wearing your clothes and you can't smell that, you're toxic. If you're drinking something and it has chemicals in it and you can't taste it, you're toxic. If you wear perfume and after a few minutes you can't smell it, you're toxic. And that means you have chemicals inside of you constantly. I know when someone else washes my clothes, like if I go to my mom's and someone accidentally uses a non-organic, chemical-free stuff, I don't even have to be near it, and I can smell the chemicals emanating from my clothes. And I will grab my clothes and put it right back in the thing and wash it 2 or 3 times to try to get as much of the chemicals out there. Remember, even your clothes is part of your health, because remember, it's cloth, it's cotton, and some of it's polyester now, but it absorbs chemicals. And as you sweat throughout the day, you loosen those chemicals, those toxins, and those absorb into the body. So this is all part of health. People don't think about this when we see cancer and different diseases. They think, well, I eat healthy. Why is this happening to me? But they have chemicals going throughout the house, toxic candles, fragrances all over the place. So I know I'm a little off tangent, but this is so important when we're understanding, because and the reason why I'm talking about this is because I want you to understand that just because something says organic, just because something says natural, just because something looks good or you like the smell of it, doesn't mean it's healthy for you. And this is something very important. And you have to remember that things are regulated. A lot of things are regulated by the National Organic Program or the FDA, and not a lot of times if you actually go to these places, you realize that there's not actually a lot of people actually checking this stuff. Some companies are a little rougher than others, and I love those companies that are like so strict, but there are some companies that just don't do it. So, and they'll put the stamp on there. They'll say, hey, this is good to go. I know that Naked, which is a Pepsi Cola product, which I don't buy Pepsi Cola products, and that Naked advertised as non-GMO and organic, and they came out that they were all not even organic, and they had GMO fruit in there. And so they had to pay out millions. I was even part of the settlement. I had got a check for like $13 and something cents, and I just laughed at it. But it was kind of a slap in the face because, I knew, like, I never cared for Naked anyways, but every time I drank it, I could feel there was something. I was just like, no, I'd rather buy a different type of juice because it always gave me heartburn and it always messed with me. And I said, this can't be organic. And when it came out as GMO and non-organic and there was chemicals in it, man, the lawsuits went crazy. And I said, I knew it because I could taste it. My body told me that this was a lie. And so trust yourself. There's serving sizes, there's all different things, but I'll get into that on another day. Right now, I want to talk about something that's very important. And one of the things that I want to talk about is water, because we are 72 to 76% water. Our body is water. Our everything we do. When we have dry eyes, like I said, we know we have to have water. Our intestines, when we're constipated, everything is, our bodies need water. A lot of people say that they hate the taste of water or the taste of water gets boring. To me, I have a pop once in a while. I like a Dr. Pepper here and there. I'm not going to lie. It burns my throat each time I do it because it's so acidic but I love the taste of water. Like, I can guzzle a glass and be like, oh, that's so good. I want more. But water is so important for you. Most people who don't give water enough value, and the reason why they don't do that is because we're so used to being on the go. And a lot of times when we're hungry, we're actually thirsty. But because a lot of food contains water, we actually get some water from our food. Otherwise, things would be so dry all the time, it would be hard to eat. It'd be eating like a sawdust. But what does water do for us? So there's two types of water, and you've heard about the first one, H2O, right? And that's used for like regulating. It's like our regular water that we do. It's used for hydration. It's used for regulating body temperature. It keeps us wet. I don't want to use the M word because that'll drive me nuts. But it keeps us wet. Our eyes, when our eyes get dried out, sometimes it's not even allergens. Sometimes it's just the fact that our body is lacking water. Again, simple skin test. If you can pull your skin up and it stays that way, you're lacking protein and water. If it pops right back down, guess what? Good to go. Good test. Nice, easy test, right? You don't even have to do anything. But it keeps wet your nose, your tissues, your ligaments, things like that need it. Plus, it carries nutrients and oxygen to the organs and tissues that you need. Without water, our blood would dry up and we just have red blood cells and we dry up and fall apart and crumble. It also helps us dissolve minerals and nutrients so that they're accessible to our bodies. A lot of times when we take things, we need water to dissolve it so it can be absorbed and then carried into our cells, into our organs, into our ligaments and tissues and all over the place. Otherwise, how are we going to do that? And so one of the things we must realize that with nutrients or supplementation, like when we're taking vitamin C and all this stuff, and we're going to get into this a little bit later, but remember that just a small percentage of supplementations get absorbed into the body. So if you take, let's say, 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C, you might at best get 100 milligrams of vitamin C. That's why, like, the FDA, and I'm going to go over this probably tomorrow or later tonight, the FDA really regulates Hold on one sec. The FDA really regulates and tells you should be taking a lot less. One, because people go crazy and they hear things on the internet. But two, it also makes sure that you never get the proper nutrients. Like you hear that you only should take 800 milligrams of vitamin E, or you should only take such 500 milligrams of vitamin D. But you could take 10,000. I mean, again, I'm not telling anyone to take anything. So please, just because you hear it, please consult your doctor. By no way, shape am I telling you to take anything, but you can take these things. I mean, even me, I'm taking 10,000 milligrams of vitamin D a day. I'm taking between 50 and 75 milligrams of zinc. You're told only to take 20 a day. Your body can handle much more than a lot of people that the FDA allows you to. And one, because people don't know, they don't have the education. A lot of times people will take too much and get sick or die. But also, that's a way to keep you sick. If you're always short on your nutrients and your supplementation, then one, they don't get sued for telling you to take that. But two, then you're always sick. And guess what? You got to go to Pfizer. You got to go to these places and get their pharmaceuticals because, hey, that's what they are doing. So it's kind of, it's all a big game. So go out there and do your research, because a lot of doctors will tell you, yeah, you can take 50 a day of zinc and be fine. Zinc makes me sick whenever I take it on an empty stomach, by the way. Some people, it doesn't bother. But in order for you to get the supplementation and the nutrients into your cells and everything, the next thing we're going to need is very important. And this is something that we haven't heard about, but we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back after these messages from I Am Evolution.
The human experience is changing, and consciousness is evolving into something higher than any of us could ever imagine. As we transform into more sentient beings, a new world of connected consciousness is taking place. Welcome to I Am Evolution, the movement in human development that transforms the human experience into a deeper consciousness through perspective and duality. Are you ready to be a part of the next stage in human evolution? Call I Am Evolution today to schedule your appointment at 561-318-0006. That's 561-318-0006. Or email us at iamevolution@protonmail.com.
All right, we are back. And so H3O2 is something that we don't hear about. H2O is what? Two hydrogens and an oxygen, which creates water, as we just discussed. But what about H3O2? We've never heard about that. This is something that's a little secretive to me that I don't tell many people about. So you're kind of, I think I've wrote a blog about it, or I think I may have mentioned it here and there, but I really don't talk about that because it's my secret as an athlete of why, before I got ill, why I was doing so well with a lot of stuff and why I was stronger and faster and moving things. And that's because of this. This is something that if you go on the internet, you're not going to find because people don't want you to know about this. This is H3O2, and this is known as the fourth stage of water. This is called gel water. And what is gel water? Well, it's living water, and that means it's structured. Anything structured, this means that it has an idea where it's going to go to, and this is strictly going into the cells. So this gel water comes from when you grab orange juice and you squeeze it, the juice that comes out isn't actually technically water, it's gel water. And same with anything fruit-based, strawberries, blueberries, anytime you get juice out of something, it's actually like a gelatinous. If you run your finger, it might feel like a little liquidy, especially if they do it down. But next time, take an orange and start squeezing it and feel it, and you're going to feel that it's a little bit slippery. And what's so nice about this is that this hydrates and feeds your cells. The water, H2O, only lubricates your body and keeps your blood thin and keeps the nutrients going and dissolve and things like. But in order for you to heal, you need H3O2. You need gel water. This is why fruits and vegetables are so important. This is why it drives me bonkers when I hear when people have cancer, why they say stay away from sugar, and they tell you to stay away from fruits and vegetables. That actually shown that this type of idea with the H3O2 actually keeps your cells hydrated and gives your cells the nutrients to fight cancer, because there's so many things that we need to fight disease. And so H3O2 is in all of our water-based fruits and vegetables. So anytime you crack something, you bite into it and you feel that juice, you taste that juice, this is gel water H3O2. This is something that is essential part of life. You could drink all the water you want, and I know there's many people out there, but you can drink all the water you want and still be dehydrated. And I know there's many out there that are going to listen to this program or are listening right now and saying, oh my God, yes, I drink a ton of water. I drink 80 gallons a day and I'm still dehydrated. That's because your cells are dehydrated. There's a difference between your body being hydrated and your cells being hydrated. If your cells do not get the proper nutrients and aren't properly hydrated, it affects the rest of your body. So go ahead, drink 80 ounces of water, 120 ounces of water, and you're still not doing it properly. You need the gel water. This is why juicing is so important and eating fruits and vegetables. There is there are some companies out there trying to sell H3O2 like I guess like things that make it, but this is chemical, and so far from what I hear, it's just not the same. We can't replicate Mother Nature. Mother Nature is perfect in all its glory, and she does a wonderful job, and don't go out and buy machines that promise you that they can make this. They cannot make this. The best form is always Mother Nature. We are part of this earth. We are this earth. I shouldn't say part. We are this earth. We are born from it. We will die back into it and be recycled and keep coming back. We are this earth consciousness. We live in itself. And so to try and beat around it and try to go around, that's why pharmaceuticals and stuff, yes, they help us, but they hurt our body in so many ways and so many chemicals and stuff because our bodies aren't made for this. I hope that we start changing over into a more, plant-based society, and not just in food, but in everything, because we are destroying ourselves in so many ways. And I'm not going to get into that because, hey, that's for another topic, but this is something that we have to understand. So H3O2 is very alkaline. It is very dense. It is very structured and organized. It has a negative charge to it, and this is something that is healthy for our bodies. This is something that our bodies need, because a lot of times we think of positive and negative charges in our bodies, and we hear positive is good, negative is bad, but this has a negative charge, and this is something very healthy for our bodies. So the next thing that I want to go under is we're going to start going over some of a list of unacceptables and things that are acceptable, because there is so many chemicals, and I'm only going to go over a few because we only have a couple minutes left. But in our part 2, we're going to go over more. But one of the things that hurts us the most, like I said, is ingredients. We have a lot of food out there and a lot of products all claiming to be stuff, but we intake a lot of chemicals, and we think that we're healthy. And trust me, as a child, I thought I was eating healthy because I didn't understand any better. I thought that the food that was on there, cereal, and the food that I ate, KFC, whatever my mom got at the time, or meatloaf and fried chicken, I thought that was normal. Now that I'm understanding, I could realize, well, no wonder why I was hyperactive as a child, because I was eating nothing but toxic chemicals and dyes, and made my ADHD go crazy. So now today there is a lot of chemicals that we eat that we don't understand of. One of the main chemicals that I see that's becoming in a lot of products, especially sugar-free products, is a chemical, and a lot of you may already know this, and some of you may not, is a product called aspartame. Okay, aspartame, I'm going to tell you, is one of the most carcinogenic chemicals out there. And if you don't know what carcinogenic means, that means it causes cancer in an extreme amount. We are finding out that it's better to eat table sugar, which is sucrose. It's better to eat or drink pop, like regular sugared pop, than to drink diet pop or things with aspartame. There's gum. There's a lot of gums, sugar-free gums and things, because this is a synthetic sweetener. But we're finding out that this is highly toxic. The rise of cancer went up from people that switched from regular pop to diet pop. So when they went from regular Coke to diet Coke or diet Pepsi, and they started drinking the same amount in aspartame, cancer went through the roof, and because they found out, whoa, this is highly carcinogenic. The problem is the FDA and the government still aren't doing anything about it. They're allowing these companies that pay millions of dollars to them to do whatever they want, and it's still available in all your products. So my biggest and best advice to you is, one, get away from things that aren't healthy for you. But if you're going to drink it, go for the regular stuff, because the regular stuff is actually healthier than a lot of the artificial sweeteners and things like that. But if it says aspartame, please. One of the biggest things that I seen, and I used to do this when I was younger. It was a little, I always thought it was funny. Now growing up, but when I would go out to like a lot of these places to eat, I would take the equal package, all the sweeteners and stuff, and I would write on there with my pen, cancer, 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 and I would circle the ingredient aspartame. It was tiny, but I would circle it, and I'd write cancer on all the blue and pink equal packets, because those were the most carcinogenic. I was like, hey, at least I'm helping people. People pick it up and see the word cancer. Hey, hopefully they'll think about it a second time. I don't do that anymore, but that was something I used to do, because I was in the mode where I was like, people don't know about this. They're drinking. Like, I would watch people tear open the equal packets and dump 3 or 4 of them in their coffee, and I was like, and it's all aspartame. And so when we consume this, it is very toxic to our body. And what happens is the methyl ester inside breaks down, and it actually converts to a form of formaldehyde. And this is something that, of course, we don't drink formaldehyde, we don't eat it, and that because why? It causes cancer, it causes cardiovascular disease. We know, but we smoke it. A lot of people smoke. There's formaldehyde and toxic chemicals in cigarettes that are constantly there, and we'll smoke it. And then we're wondering why we have so many problems. But this also causes weight gain. One of the reasons, sugar, yes. When sugar does not get processed by the body, it does start to store in our interstitial fluid inside the body, and it just hangs out there because the body doesn't produce enough insulin, and our body says, hey, I don't know what to do with this, so we're just going to stay there, and that creates a lot of weight gain. But this is something that happens. Our aspartame is also, it creates a lot of brain issues too, like seizures, strokes, dementia. A lot of people associate like things with dementia. Now we're finding out that if you drink a lot of plastic, if you eat a lot of things like with aluminum, and if you cook with pans that have aluminum or non-stick, those chemicals are creating heavy metals and plastics that imitates estrogen. There's just so many things that we're eating and ingesting that. And so these nutrients, we have to be able to understand. I always tell people, switch out I got rid of all my plastic. I only cook in cast iron and I use glass, cast iron, and stainless steel. I read all my ingredients. I make sure that there's no such thing, because I don't use plastics, because again, not only does aspartame may cause dementia and seizures and stuff, but also some of these heavy metals and plastics, because remember, plastics eat away at the neurological system and cause these things. Heavy metals do the same thing. They're linking a lot of like Alzheimer's and dementia and a lot of brain issues with a lot of these chemicals and a lot of these things that we're ingesting. So this is something that we have to understand. The last the last ingredient that I'm going to go over for today is high fructose corn syrup. High fructose corn syrup is found in foods all over the place. And matter of fact, it's one of the most highly, if you read most products, especially that have sugar in them, usually the first 2 ingredients are high fructose corn syrup and corn syrup. Well, guess what, people? High fructose corn syrup and corn syrup are the same ingredient. They just found a way, hey, how can I put double of this in and because the FDA will say, no, you can't put too much in. You got to make sure there's only certain amounts. How can I get around this? So what they did is they said, hey, we'll relabel it. We'll label it something different. We're going to sit there and say, hey, high fructose corn syrup is one sugar and corn syrup is another sugar, but they're actually the same thing. And this is a very processed, low quality sugar. It's mostly produced from cornstarch, and this is something that turns our body. This is something that our body can't produce, that our body can't handle properly. So this will cause an insanely amount of insulin response, because again, remember, if we eat fruit sugar, our fruit sugar is processed by the liver. It'll spike temporarily blood sugar, but then it goes right back down right away, and our body uses it right away. When the sugar is processed, the body goes, I don't know what to do with this. So because it doesn't understand it, because it's not the right code, it pumps a lot of insulin at it. And then our body says, well, now that I pumped a lot, I used what I could, but I can't eat all this. So let's just store it in the body, and hopefully it'll do this. And this is something that the body does for people that have diabetes. People who eat a lot of sugary stuff usually have a high amount of high fructose corn syrup and corn syrup in this, because it's processed. Anything that processed changes its molecular structure, and it doesn't allow the body or it doesn't allow the body, because the body, every fruit and vegetable has a code to it, and a kind of like a lock and key. And in order to open the door, the key has to fit perfectly in that lock. And that's what fruits and vegetables do to the cell. The moment you start processing things and changing something, it's kind of like, well, I get it. And the cell says, well, I need food, so I'll let this in. And then we start the process of disease. This is something that we need to change as people. The results of this, obviously, it's a very strong sweetener. It's stronger than sugar. That's why a lot of people love sugary things with high fructose corn syrup. That's why a lot of things have high fructose corn syrup and corn syrup in it, is because it is like that. It's very sweet. So the sweet glands on the tongue are like, oh my God, this is so great. And people who eat a lot of this have a hard time eating fruits and vegetables and healthy things, because the sugar isn't there. Eventually, what ends up happening is the tongue needs so much sweetness in order for it to taste, that everything is so bland. And then our body rejects it because, oh, this tastes terrible. It took even me a little bit for me to realize that once I got out of, living my family's way and everything, and I got away from it, it took my body a little bit to adjust to that and actually start liking healthy things. Now it's the other way around. The moment I taste something with high fructose corn syrup or anything processed, my body rejects it. And I mean, once in a while it's okay, but I can tell, like, my body reacts totally different than if I have a thing of fruit. All right, guys, that is tonight's show. There's just so much I want to teach you guys. That's kind of why I skipped all over the place. I was purposely doing it because I had so many thoughts, and there's so much that I want to teach you. This might be a 2 or 3 part series, because there's just so much information, but we're going to stop there. All right, guys, as always, follow us on our Facebook at facebook.com/Transcendental Transformation. Our YouTube page is the same thing. Email me at transcendentaltransformations@gmail.com. If you'd like to sign up for go to our website, soulandspiritguide.com, and sign up for our newsletter, receive VIP access and special guest offers. If you like tonight's show, or if you know someone that could benefit from the show, please go out and share this. The only way we can help people and grow is by you guys. And always remember to believe in yourself, and it's not our abilities, our talents that make us who we are, but it is our choices. Thank you, and have a wonderful evening.